it does diminish the dollars that are available, and the interest in participating in the program is diminished as you try to figure out how you make this profitable for the provider.
If you let us give it out tax-free, I promise you I could do it for less than $21 billion.
It's another option. Senator Van Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to start by sharing the concerns and statement made by the chairman. I think you've heard it from other members of this committee as well. Yeah, the benefit of the bargain was struck at the time we passed the infrastructure bill. I've heard you refer on a number of occasions to new ideas. Having worked with the states, including my state of Maryland, for a long time on this, Mr. Secretary, I think the important thing is to make sure that they get the benefit of the bargain. And I think you're hearing on a bipartisan basis, this committee is going to scrutinize that very closely. There are just a couple of questions I have before we close. One is just to follow up on one of your responses with respect to the Epstein files, specifically the visit you and your family took to Epstein's private island in 2012, and I think you also said you went on his yacht. Is that right? Or boat? No.
No.
Okay.
I didn't say that.
At that time, I think you mentioned that you were accompanied by your wife and kids and nannies. My question is, do you know whether the nanny that you had on that trip was the same nanny that Jeffrey Epstein expressed interest in meeting?
No, I have no idea about that whole thing. I mean, I don't recall it having anything to do with me, and I don't know that.
It's just, you know, this guy was a convicted sex offender, and obviously not a great place for kids and nannies. Was Ghislaine Maxwell on the island at that time?
No.
So turning now to the issues of the high-speed internet and broadband, let me just say I appreciated your very emphatic response to Senator Shaheen about Starlink, SpaceX, or any other entity not being able to change the terms of the deal after the fact. I thought that was a really clear and defined statement. So I do want to ask you about another rider. You described that as a rider that seems to have, been referenced, at least in the president's executive order, with respect to AI. The order directs you, the Secretary of Commerce, to study whether the department can withhold federal rural broadband funding from states with unfavorable AI laws. Mr. Secretary, that would be a rider. Is there any place in the law that you've seen that could be a condition of providing the funds that we're talking about here today?
I'm not sufficiently familiar to answer, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I appreciate if you can get back to us, because you properly described what Starlink's trying to do as a rider after the fact. This would be a clear rider after the fact, and there's just no justification or legal grounds for applying this conditions when the condition did not exist in the underlying law. Let me ask you about the GAO. The GAO has informed the committee that Department of Commerce is declining to answer questions regarding certain investigations and audits. As you know, GAO is sort of empowered by the Congress as a congressional watchdog to look into fraud, waste, and abuse. They have very broad jurisdiction. I'm just asking, Mr. Secretary, can you commit that your department will comply and work with GAO and cooperate with GAO in their work?
My understanding is driven by our general counsel, who's instructed us how to respond, and we will respond according to whatever the rules are as informed by my general counsel.
Okay, well, I hope, Mr. Chairman, that we have a shared interest in making sure that GAO can conduct a proper oversight of the department. It comes with every administration, and so it seems to me that's something that the department should comply with. Let me just briefly follow up on questions from Senator Coons and Senator Reed regarding the export of very high-end U.S. technologies, high-end chips, which of course are important to power AI. And I was very concerned. Well, first of all, I was happy to see early in the administration the adoption of the affiliates rule, right? So when you say we are not going to allow the export of a high-end technology to one entity, that we also make sure that we don't export those same high-end technologies to their subsidiaries or other related entities. Because it made sense that if you're going to close the front door, you shouldn't open the back door. For the life of me, Mr. Secretary, I can't understand why that was repealed. Could you take a moment and let me know why and whether you plan to reinstate the affiliates rule?
The complex relationship between the United States and China is in the hands of the President of the United States and Secretary of State, and they help us and instruct us, and we follow their lead.
So it's interesting, Mr. Secretary, we had our trade ambassador here, and I asked him questions about this, and he said to ask you. Now, you're telling me I should ask Secretary Rubio or the President. You are in charge ultimately of, well, the President, of course, is ultimately in charge, but the export controls policies of this administration, frankly, have been very confusing when it comes to chips. I mean, we all know about the episode that the President went to the UAE after his sons traveled there, and the deal that went down. But I am focused now on China. So you're asking me to go ask the Secretary of State about why the affiliates rule was dropped.
What I'm saying is, it is a very nuanced and complex relationship between the United States and China. The President is driving that relationship. We all are familiar with the weaponization of critical minerals and rare earths and magnets. And so the resolution of those topics is really with the President of the United States and the Secretary of State as they work through the nuance of the broad relationship between China and the United States. And that's what I'm saying. It's not a particular topic. It's a broad, very nuanced topic that rests in the hands of the President of the United States. And I think he has done it. He has handled that situation, I think, brilliantly.
Well, we'll have to disagree on that. I see the Chairman has his finger on the button. I'm going to submit some questions regarding the issue of the Trump administration's decision to take a stake in the rare earth sector. I think it was U.S. rare earth, and I will be following up for the record on that, Mr. Secretary. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Murkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to the committee, Mr. Secretary. Good to see you. I want to talk about the pending BEAD final proposal. Alaska is one of the states that has not yet been approved by NTIA for the final BEAD decision. I'm told that we've got until February 11th, so this week, to get 3 undecided projects under the BSL threshold. So just a couple questions in this vein this morning. As I have shared with you in the communications and the conversations we've had in my office, Alaska kind of has looked at the BEAD program as this one-time opportunity for us to really try to address the digital divide that we see in very rural spaces. The restructuring notice that came out last year has made it a little bit difficult, I'll just say, for the Alaska broadband officer. This is what they're telling me in terms of just what they feel are some of the changing goalposts. And so they're trying to figure out how we, again, get maximum yield out of this very important program. As you know, construction seasons are not 365 days a year. I need your commitment that that we will see approval of Alaska's proposals promptly so that we can get to work in this upcoming construction season.
I'm happy to make such a commitment.
Great, I appreciate that. The non-statutory cost threshold per BSL in Alaska has shifted multiple times in my communications with NTIA. Can you tell me what per BSL cost threshold is being used in Alaska with regard to the final BEAD proposal? What we need to know is what's the threshold, and can we count on the fact that it's not going to be changing on us yet again?
My understanding is that actually Alaska's on the 1 yard line. I mean, we're just about there.
Okay.
I think the only issue was that island.
There's three islands.
But
St. Paul, St. Lawrence, and McGrath. McGrath is not an island. It may as well be an island because it's...
My understanding was the conversations were with respect to the island, and that we were very, very close to a solution between us. So my expectation was, in fact, it may be resolved today or tomorrow.
Okay, that would be great, and I'm sure your teams will be working with us to give more information. Let's talk just a sec about the unspent funds. It's my understanding that the final provisional awards approved by NTIA are going to award the states much less than their original BEAD allocations. I don't know how much is actually left on the table. The question that I have is what happens to it? Is it returned to the Treasury? How much is intended to return to the Treasury? What are the plans for the funds? We're looking at it from the perspective of, look, everything in Alaska, and you know this, everything is just so high cost. Every dollar matters. We get it. We were operating under the assumption that Congress intended all these funds to be dispersed in a smart and a wise way. We get that. But a question for you in terms of what the plans are for unspent funds, and just a commitment that these remaining funds be allocated in a way that are used to do exactly what we intended with this program, which is to strengthen all aspects of communication, particularly when it comes to our emergency or public safety communication in these rural areas where you just have these incredible gaps, but also within the critical mile infrastructure. So we know we want to be smart with our money, but these were funds that were directed for a very specific reason. The need is huge, and in many cases, it's just a little more expensive than maybe in the lower 48.
We have no plans for rescission.
Okay? There's a difference, though, between rescission and unspent funds.
So we have $21 billion. So we have executed universal broadband, gotten every state, covering each and every person that every state asked to cover, yours included. We will have $21 billion remaining. So we are starting tomorrow a listening tour. We have 900 people signed up for tomorrow. We will meet with your office and your staff if you would like. What are your best ideas? You've said it, I think, very, very well. Let's do it smart. Let's do it efficiently. Let's do it effectively. We have covered everybody who needed it in the United States universally at that high performance standards that you set for $21 billion less. We have now a great opportunity. We have $21 billion. Let's design together the smartest thing to do with that money for the benefit of your state and for all of the states of America. I think that is our objective, and we start that tomorrow.
Okay, well, I will look forward to those follow-on conversations, both with regards to the Alaska-specific projects and then on the going forward. Again, I recognize that we are, the way I say it, is we've never been the benefit of the bargain in many cases because we're just so high cost. And it's not because it's waste, fraud, or abuseful. It is just far out there. So this is an opportunity that we have to really do right by all Alaskans, even in the most remote of remote places. And we look forward to working with you to address their needs as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Secretary, anything you'd like to add?
I just appreciate you having me here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for accepting our invitation. Thanks for your attention to issues that are really important to our constituents in the country. There are no further questions. Senators may submit additional questions for the subcommittee's official hearing record. We request that NTIA, the Secretary's responses, occur within 30 days, and the subcommittee stands in recess subject to the call of the chair.